in session as our speaker was unable to speak earlier due to some network issues. Dr. Arshid has joined us again. We know it's a bit late, but we will do our best to conclude this session in next 30 to 40 minutes. Sorry for the inconvenience. Very quickly, over to you, sir, Dr. Arshid.
Dr. Arshid, you can start now.
Dr. Arshid, are you with us? Dr. Arshid, you are on mute. You can unmute, please.
Dr. Arshid, are you with us?
Dr. Arshid, I can suggest you that if you can use your mobile phones, you can use a mobile phone's mic. It will be easy, I think. If you are not able to join the laptop simultaneously, the presentation and also the voice. Dr. Arshid, we are able to see your screen, but your voice is not coming to us.
Oh,
Am I audible now?
Yes, sir, you are.
Okay. So basically, sorry for the disruptions. I was discussing about the club convergence methodology, where I discussed it. We were already done with the introduction about the convergence, why we need the convergence, and how the recent technique of Phillips and Schultz is a new addition to the techniques of analyzing the convergence, and subsequently the field of economic convergence has extended to other fields. Initially, it was, I'm again repeating it, initially it was more focused on this growth literature. However, the later it was extended to the monetary, environmental, public finance, and real estate economics. I think I discussed this part, or shall I discuss again?
Yes. You can move ahead.
Okay. Now the question arises why we should use this technique. There are basically 5 to 6 main advantages of using this technique. The first thing is that whenever we talk about the convergence, we are, for example, let's say there are different, I'll use an example of Indian states. These states are at different levels of development, and as a result of which their economic performance also vary. So if we have to analyze the convergence of these entities, this technique takes those things into consideration, and whatever the change is happening over a period of time, this technique takes care of that. Second, whenever we do some time series or panel data analysis, the main focus, the first assumption we need to satisfy is that the series should be stationary. But this methodology again does not impose that kind of strict assumptions that the series should be stationary or there should be stability in the series. It's basically, it takes care of that. It does not depend on that the series should be stationary. That's why this methodology is again used. Third is that whenever we use the beta convergence, what happens is that whatever be the initial level of these values. For example, in the growth, if a country is very at a very high level of a growth and other is at a low level of a growth, so that means the parameter which we are estimating beta convergence, that's a bit biased. However, in this Phillips-Schultz technique, we are able to avoid that biasness. I will show you how when we go through this hands-on technique or through this practical session. I will show you how it takes care of that. And the fourth is that whenever we are saying that the convergence phenomena, it's a long-term process. But what about if we have to, for example, a short period of data? Normally, the countries which are poorer, or we can say in the developing countries, we don't have much data, or we are trying to understand what's happening over a short period of time. So this technique can also be used that, and the results from this, they do not suffer from any, we can say that if the sample size is small, we can't use this other convergence techniques. But this convergence technique, this Phillips-Schultz convergence technique, does not get impacted by the sample size. And the fifth is that it is over a period of time, it's a general non-linear. What we mean by that is that basically we don't need the stationarity of a time series or of the time series, or we can say the panel data. Long story short, basically this Phillips-Schultz technique is also called this log T regression. Basically, whatever the program we are running, the final equation which gets us estimated is this log, this equation which is highlighted here, log h1 by ht minus 2 log of t, it gets estimated. So based on this, we are saying whether the particular entities or whether the particular, let's say, countries or states, they are converging or if they are not converging. And there are some, for example, rules of thumb. We generally take the 5% significance level where the critical value is minus 1.65. And based on this, we take the decision. If the value is greater than 0, we say that the process is diverging. The entities are diverging. Otherwise, if the value is, for example, greater than 2, then we say there is convergence in levels, which means that they are converging to a particular level. On the other hand, if we are, for example, we are getting the value between 0 and 2, then that means we are saying the convergence is happening in the growth rates. That means, for example, if we have got the GDP data and then we are doing the convergence analysis through this Phillips rule technique, and what we are saying that our beta value is coming between 0 and 2, then that means they are not converging in actual levels, but their growth rates are converging. This is basically the main idea from here. Now, for this STATA example, for example, I am interested to understand in the rural areas. This has been the much talk in the town that some states are showing high rural inflation, others are showing very low inflation. I am trying to understand whether the food inflation, food and beverage inflation across the rural areas of India, whether they are converging or not, or if they are not converging, are there some clubs getting formed? For example, if the overall convergence is not happening, is there the possibility that some states, some rural areas or particular states, they are forming one club, other states are following another club? Is there any evidences of that? So basically, for that purpose, I am going to use now this STATA and the data of this food and beverage inflation of the India. Let me move to this. Let's say this is my data. I have taken the data from January 2011.
Arshid, we are unable to see your screen, data screen. You can share whole screen, then that will be available.
Okay. I hope this is visible now.
Yes.
So basically what we are doing is that I have taken the data from January 2011 to Feb 2020 of all Indian states and union territories. The data is of food and beverages inflation. I have taken this data from the database on Indian economy, Reserve Bank of India. Now the question arises, why I have taken data till 2020, Feb 2022, 20 is basically I have taken pre-COVID period. I am trying to understand whether the convergence is happening in the food and beverages inflation or not, or if the overall convergence is absent, are there any evidences that the club formation or there are club convergence? That means basically, for example, whether there is or some states which are following their own club whose inflation is converging, whose food and beverage inflation is converging. I hope this part is clear.
Yes, please move ahead. Your voice is not coming. Are you speaking?
No, I'm not speaking.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is I'll first clear this. Now I'm going to import the same data here. This is the data I was talking before. Is it visible?
Yes, it is.
So here we can see that STATA is there is one label which you'll find it's coming in the red color. So that means STATA is not able to read this data state for the variable state, the name of the state. So what I will do is that I will write the command. See, I have first formatted the date so that the date will become readable to the STATA. And after that, what I am doing is that I am generating the value, this ID for the state, so that the STATA will be able to read. Now, if we'll again check, now you'll see that the state, every state got its own ID. Let's say, for example, 2 is for Andhra and so on. 4, 5, 6. So the STATA will read, instead of Andhra Pradesh, it will read 2 and like that. Now, after that, what I'm going to do is, basically, I'm going to tell the STATA that the data which I'm going to use, it is it is a panel data. So what for the panel data, what the command is, it's basically XTSET, and I am using two variables. One is as we know that in the panel data there is one entity, or one is state and another is the time period. So state ID and date. Now it's showing that the panel variable, the state ID is strongly balanced, and the time period is from 2011 month 1st to 2020 month 2. That is January 2011 to 2020 February 2020, and the month data is of monthly, right?
Yes, yes.
Now the second thing is that first I will take the log for the smoothness of the series. I will take I have to do two manipulations. One is that I will generate the log series of the CPI, and then I will filter out the cyclical component so that I will get the smooth series, whatever the volatility is there. And there are different methodologies, like for example, I am using the method of HP filter, and the value is, for the smoothness parameter, I have used 129600. Is basically the monthly data, and the standard value which is given for the monthly data is this 129600. Now you'll see simultaneously there is the variables are getting generated. This is log of CNP, and this is the basically this after removing this cyclical component. Moving on, our interest is basically to understand whether the convergence is happening or not. So first step will be, I will try to understand whether the overall convergence is happening or not. So for that, I will run this log T regression, and this is my variable. After removing this, after filtering the seasonal component, this is the component I have given the name INF2. And I have kept, for example, KQ.2. Now this is important to understand. If you remember, I told you that there is no biasness in this methodology. What this methodology is doing is that it neglects or it discards the first few observations. Here I have kept the value 0.2. The Philippines tool has suggested us that when the sample size is less than 50, that time we should discard 1/3 of the observations. But when the observations are greater than 100, then we can keep this discarding parameter to 0.2. So that's why, since I have got 100, more than 100 these observations, around 120 observations I have got. If we calculate this, I think 110 observations I have. So those are greater than 100. That's why I have used KQ, this discarding parameter 0.2. Now this is the test. This is the result I am getting. if you see this, the deciding parameter for us is if the T-stat is greater than minus 1.65, then we will accept our hypothesis that there is convergence. But here the value is less than 1.65. It is minus 35.38. So this test is showing us that the overall convergence is not happening. I hope this part is clear.
Yes.
Okay. Now, when we got the answer that there is no overall convergence, we move to the second part. Okay, if the overall convergence is not possible, are there evidences that this there is evidence of club convergence? So for that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to run this command. I'm again keeping the same, except log t. Instead, I'm saying that okay, overall convergence is not happening. What about the club convergence? That's why I've written here the generate clubs. Now you'll see here. Once I run this command, I am getting how many clubs I am getting? I am getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 clubs. So what essentially it is saying is that the food and beverages inflation in India can be clubbed, or can be, they are basically following 5 broad trends, with the club first signifying that those states which are in the club first, they are having high food and beverage inflation, and the states are Andaman and Nicobar Islands, Goa, Kerala and Manipur. These states during the period of 2011 to 2020, they all were among all the rural areas of the India, they were having higher inflation. And similarly, the next group is of Andhra, and all those in that 13 states are sharing the this convergence with regard to this. We can say that they are following their own club of inflation, food and beverage inflation. And similarly, there is another club which is of Himachal, Delhi and Rajasthan. And the last is West Bengal and Maharashtra. Then there is 5th club of these states. What essentially I am getting from this is that in the club first, only those states are there which are having high inflation. And as we go down the group, club 3, club 4, those are having less inflation compared to the other clubs which are in higher rank, let's say 1, 2 and 3. And we are also getting, there is one state, Nagaland, which is not converging with any group. It's not converging with any state. It's forming its own, it's not converging. You'll see the even STATA is giving us in writing that it's not convergent group. So there are one state is there which is not converging. Now there may be some, for example, there may be some biasness in these results. What we are doing, see, we are trying to understand. There is one more, for example, to ensure the robustness, we will go for one more checkup that whether the states, whether the clubs which we got, is there the possibility that 2 clubs can be formed to form a bigger club? Are there any evidences? Philip and Soul provides us answer for that also. So for that we'll try to check that thing also. Wait, first I will. So basically, I simply wrote the command to get the results of all the clubs. I kept them here. Now I will go for this merging of club, whether the bigger club can be formed. I will check the club merging, whether the clubs can be, whether there are evidences of formation of the bigger clubs. See again, what I am getting here is the first is log T, club 1 and 2. See again, the value is less than 1.65. So we can, that club 1 and 2 cannot be merged. What about club 2 and 3? No, they cannot be merged. But club 3 and 4 can be merged. They are forming the bigger club. And club 4 and 5, no, they are not getting, we are not getting any evidences that there are evidences of formation of higher clubs. And finally, if I will write the command and I will try to get the report of what are the final clubs. So basically, in short, we are getting 4 clubs. Final clubs, we are getting 4 final clubs. Why? Because club 3 and 4 got merged. So these are the last 4 clubs which we are getting, and there is one non-convergent group. So these 4 clubs, what they are giving us is basically the food and beverage inflation during the period of 2011 to 2020. There were no evidences of overall convergence. However, there are evidences of club convergence. Club convergence means that different rural areas of different states are forming their own clubs, their inflation clubs. For example, the Manipur, Kerala, Goa, and Andaman, their inflation is more or less same. On average, their inflation is more or less same, or their inflation is converging. Similarly, there are 18 states in the club 2 which are having whose inflation, who are sharing more or less same inflation. And similarly, there is club 3rd and club 4th. So basically, through this technique, what we are able to understand, even though, for example, the overall convergence is not happening, are there evidences that we have, there are evidences of club convergence, and the technique is showing, yes, in the case of food and beverage inflation, we are getting 4 clubs and 1 non-convergent group. And basically, that's all in this. And these results, now, if anyone wants to extend this analysis beyond, they are trying to understand, for example, what are those clubs, what is their inflation rate, what was their average inflation rate. Those can be calculated from these also. And one more factor, for example, even though we got the answer that there are club convergences, that for example, Andaman and let's say Manipur, these 2 states are at different level of economic development. But why they are sharing the same level of inflation, or why their inflation levels are converging? That's an important question. And if a particular researcher is interested in that, there is one more technique. For example, he or she can go for logistic regression to understand what are the conditioning factors which drive these club formation of club convergence. And basically, that's all from my side. This is the hands-on practical session on this club convergence, how you can actually do in the STATA. And if you are interested in doing it on your own, I can share the do file as well as the data file, and so that you can do it on your computers also.
Yes, Dr. Arshid, we will be glad if you share this do file and data file so that our participants.
Sure.
So now you can set up the sharing, and I encourage participants, although they are tired, to come jump up with the questions if you are having. So then we can quickly, before time, we are going to close the session. So Dr. Arshid, you can try to open your camera. Yes, please.
Hello, good afternoon, sir.
Yeah, good afternoon.
Sir, I want to actually know what does the coefficient there signify? The coefficient in the result, what does that signify? And what does that negative sign mean?
Basically, what we are trying, for example, we have different techniques of convergence.
Yes,
we are trying to whether they are converging or not.
Yes.
Right? Now,
Yes,
what
sir.
we are doing in this flip solve technique is that, let's say overall convergence is not possible. Overall convergence
Yes,
is not happening.
Yes.
We are saying, are there evidences that there is the club formation? That, let's say 3 or 4 states are converging.
Yes, sir.
Right? So
Yes, sir.
based on that coefficient, we are taking level of significance, 5% level of significance, and that there is the value minus 1.65.
65. Yes, sir.
If if it is less than that, then we are saying it's not converging. You can, for example, there is value for 1%, also there is also one value for 10%, right? But as a rule of thumb, we are taking 5% significance level. And Philip and Sulan also basically taken the 5%. They have computed that value, that is minus 1.65. And based on that, they have given us the rule, this decision rule, whether to accept the hypothesis or reject the hypothesis.
That I know the test static value, if that is greater than the minus 1.65, then we can accept the null. But I want to say that what does that coefficient mean? That denotes some speed of convergence or something else?
Yeah. You're right. You are right.
Okay. And what does that negative sign signify? If I can see that some values are positive and some values are negative, some coefficients. What does that positive and negative sign signify respectively?
I told you about the convergence and divergence. If it's greater than 0 in the presentation only,
that thing you can decide on the basis of the test static. I want actually I say about the coefficient, the value of the coefficient, because in some results I see that some coefficients are positive and some coefficients are negative as well.
1 minute. Yeah, basically on the basis of the coefficient, you can calculate the rate of convergence also. There is this beta is equal to 2a, where you can calculate this rate of convergence also.
Okay.
You can calculate the rate of convergence
on the basis of coefficient, value of the coefficient.
Yeah. That I showed in this presentation also. I mentioned that specifically in that presentation.
Okay. And how we can say that if there is actually in the club convergence, we say that there is not any single steady state. How we can actually compare that about whether they are actually converging towards the single state, or they are diverging, or they are part below from the steady state, or they are above the steady state? How we can decide that?
Basically, we are only deciding on the basis of this for example, on the basis of the value, this let's say this coefficient beta value, whether the t stat is coming in that, and what are the these states.
Okay, sir. And if there is some group that is not neither diverging nor converging.
Yeah. That's all it's showing. It's even giving in the writing also. For example, for an layman, so that they will understand this group is not converging. So they
like Nagaland state in the this case.
Exactly.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Anybody have any more questions? So I am having one question. I do not know whether it is quite relevant or not. So as there is a concept of catch-up.
Yeah.
How there is the concept of developed economies and developing and emerging economies. After knowing the convergence and divergence, is there any technique through which we can understand how developing countries or emerging countries can catch up, let us suppose the 0.5 trillion economy of the India, or any target point, let us suppose 10, how they will reach to the status of development? Can we through the convergence technique be able to understand that?
No, basically in the convergence we have already pre-existing data that the past performance, we are saying on the basis of that whether they are converging or not, whether they are diverging, and based on that the policy makers can make the policy. If it is more diverging, then they are saying that, as I told you, that for example I told you in the case of club convergence, similarly it can be done for the another convergence technique. What are the factors which are resulting in the divergence? And based on that the policymakers can make the policy, they can address those things. It's basically, club convergence technique is simply saying you whether they are converging or not. It's saying only that.
Okay, thank you very much. So if we are having any more question, we can take that quickly, then we can conclude the session. Any participant, you are having any questions? Participants are quite silent. Let us know. try to. So, Dr. Arshid, if you are able to open your camera, we wish to take your
I will
photograph.
open. I am still in the office.
So we can try to capture your photograph if possible, and other participants they can join us with the camera. So
1 minute. I don't think there's much visibility.
no, it is quite good. It is quite good. So we need one photograph. Just a second. Meanwhile, I will also give a vote of thanks in between. So it was indeed, great session, but due to technical problems, so we have to, catch up in between and deal.
Yeah, no, there
But
was
it was a
yeah.
it was a great, patience from the participants who stay with us, and we will definitely share with you the do file and the, data file so that you can, practice. It is really a great technique to, do some sort of research by understanding different states, different countries, different regions. So in STATA and in development economics, it is one of the greatest techniques researchers can use. So once again, I am, very thankful for Dr. Arshid for accepting, our invitation at a very short notice when he was in Delhi and IFPA. And so I have made a quick call to him that we need one resource person without thinking, and he has accepted and given us his precious time. So although there was network issue, but still he fight again and he has joined us back. So I really appreciate because our participants were more than handsome, they were there. So we didn't want to waste their time. So I appreciate your effort to join us again and sharing really the valuable inputs of convergence, divergence, and the way you have explained it. It was although a comprehensive activity, but we are looking forward to conduct offline sessions and to give our participants opportunity to learn from you offline. So although it was quite enriching and fruitful session, I have learned myself many things. So I request you again to share your presentation and the do file. So thank you very much on behalf of Jammu and Kashmir Congress Station for your precious and valuable input about convention and development. Thank you.
Thank you.
Participants, now you are requested to leave the session. Thank you very much for your patience. Tomorrow we are going to join again with some good energetic topics and to learn new things. And we are together moving towards our training workshop, and we are crossing the days. So tomorrow we are going to start new topics and learn new things. Thanks very much. If you are having any questions at all, you can share. Alice, you are requested to leave the session so that we can wind up. Thank you very much.